and welcome to Notice Tonight, the show that decodes the region. I am Wasbir Hussain. In a historic decision, complete with suspense and high drama, the Modi government at the center has revoked or abrogated Article 370 from Jammu and Kashmir that provided a special status to the frontier region. Besides, the government also bifurcated the state and carved out two union territories, that of Jammu and Kashmir with an assembly and Ladakh without an assembly. As the nation celebrated and the opposition was caught off guard, the move drew some amount of apprehension in several northeastern states, who also enjoy various forms of special status under different provisions of Article 371. For instance, Article 35A is also gone from Jammu and Kashmir that had provided the state legislature to define permanent residence in J&K, meaning that anybody can now own property and settle down in J&K. This was the cause of apprehension in parts of the northeast, where too land rights enjoyed by the locals prevents an outsider from buying property. If Nagaland's new governor R.N. Ravi was quick to clarify that Article 371A in force in the state was sacrosanct and that the center was committed to the provision that gives Nagas special rights, Union Home Minister Amit Shah spoke in unambiguous terms in the Lok Sabha that the government has no plan to touch Article 371. Amit Shah also went to the extent of saying that abrogation of Article 370 has no links to the impending Naga peace accord. In fact, many believe the Naga accord could even be an extension of Article 371A. Well, to discuss the subject, I am joined from Aizawl by Professor J. Dongal from Mizoram University. Journalist and BJP leader Nisikant Sapam joins me from Imphal. Assam BJP spokesperson Janki Goswami will shortly be with me. Dr. Rajiv Handik from Guwahati University is already in. Advocate Soyed Burhanur Rahman and former Assam Police Special DGP Pallab Bhattacharya also joins me in Guwahati. But before we begin the discussion, ladies and gentlemen, let us listen in to Union Home Minister Amit Shah assuring on the floor of the Lok Sabha that the government would not touch or tinker with Article 371.
कि 371 का क्या करो? और बड़े वकील हैं साहब, मैं तो लॉ पढ़ा नहीं हूं। 371 और 370 के बीच का अंतर मैं आपके माध्यम से सदन को बताना चाहता हूं। और 371 में पढ़ना चाहता हूं, मान्यवर 371 है, 371 है महाराष्ट्र और गुजरात राज्य के संबंध में विशेष स्पेशल प्रोविजन और ये टेम्पररी प्रोविजन है। दोनों के बीच का अंतर आप समझ लीजिए मान्यवर। और दोनों के बीच में और अंतर क्या है, इसमें क्या आपत्ति है, क्यों भला हम उसको निकाल देंगे? 371A नागालैंड के नागाओं की धार्मिक और सामाजिक प्रथा, भूमि और संसाधनों के आधार आदि के स्वामित्व के लिए वो असेंबली निर्णय करते। 371B असम राष्ट्रपति उत्तरी कच्छार, कार्बी, आगलोंग और बोडोलैंड टेरिटोरियल जिलों जैसी जनजातीय क्षेत्रों के विधानसभाओं को विधानसभा की अन्य समिति के गठन में बाहुल्य देंगे। हम ये क्यों निकालेंगे? ये कहीं पर भी देश की एकता और अखंडता के लिए बाधक नहीं है। 370 का और 371 की कंपैरिजन कर आप देश की जनता को गुमराह करना चाहते हो, ऐसा नहीं हो पाएगा। देश की जनता सब समझती है। 370
All right, viewers, there Amit Shah categorically stating that Article 371 will not be tinkered with, that the government is not going to touch Article 371. That is a clear-cut assurance by Union Home Minister Amit Shah on the floor of the Lok Sabha that the government has no plans to tinker with or touch Article 371 that is in force in 5 northeastern states in different forms. Now let's begin the discussions. I would like to go straight to Professor J. Dongal in Aizawl. Professor Dongal, you know, we have seen Article 370 disappear from J&K, the special rights special status have been abrogated. Now it is at par with all other states of the country. The integration of Jammu and Kashmir with the Indian state is absolutely complete. That is the general perception, that's the general feeling as of now. Now the question is, the Home Minister has tried to allay apprehensions in the northeastern region. Are you satisfied with the Home Minister's statement that the government is not planning to do anything with Article 371 and that will stay?
Well, Wasbir, the background of this Article 370 and Article 371 are different. In fact, actually this Article 371, Article 370, I mean, it is temporary arrangement by which Jammu and Kashmir became one of the states of India, and with that certain privileges and status had been given to Jammu and Kashmir, which has been recently abolished. And with regard to this Article 371, actually it is the article which enshrines the rights of the indigenous people of northeastern states, particularly the hill tribes. That's why this Article 371, it is the rights of the indigenous people, the rights of the hill people, which has been incorporated in the Constitution of India. That's why the background of this Article 370 and Article 371, they are different.
Okay, I'll come back to you, Professor Dongal. Mr. Nisikant Sapam, Home Minister very quickly, on a day when Article 370 has disappeared, on a day when Article 370 was abrogated, the very same day, Union Home Minister stood in the floor of the Lok Sabha and clarified, obviously he was addressing fellow MPs of other political parties who had raised concerns about what next. Is it going to be Northeast next? And now the Union Home Minister has very categorically stated that the government will not do anything to Article 371. So do you think Northeast has anything to fear right now after the Home Minister's statement? How do you look at it, Nisikant?
The Northeast has nothing to fear because the Home Minister, Mr. Amit Shah ji, has himself categorically stated that he is not going to tinker with this. And then the 370 is totally different from 371. 370 is a place in Kashmir where it gave all the chances to the neighboring country like Pakistan to finger around with us, and they had a different flag, they had a different constitution, and you have to understand that the whole Kashmiriyat thing was being linked with Islam unnecessarily. Because when you say Kashmir, Kashmir also has a lot of Hindu Pandit population. There are Sikhs, there are Punjabis, then there's the Ladakhis, who are completely ignored. Here it is a different thing. The BJP is all bent to preserve the identity of the Northeast, the ethnic culture identity. So therefore, they are not going to touch 371, and that's what Mr. Amit Shah ji has said. And that's how it will be, and there's nothing to fear.
All right. Yes, that is the point which Nisikant is making, that the Northeast has nothing much to fear. Let me go to Advocate Burhanur Rahman. Burhan, this Article 370 has gone at a time when the Naga peace accord was at an advanced stage of being signed. It was at an advanced stage of discussion. So therefore, we will listen in to what Governor R.N. Ravi had said. Let us play the statement of Governor R.N. Ravi, who is also the chief interlocutor of the Naga peace talks. I'll read out the article, but if you can have the graphics where this is a very important graphics, which it was very quick response by R.N. Ravi, the governor. If you can have that in a slightly larger, yes, that's it. Dear brothers, sisters, and children of Nagaland, Some people have expressed apprehension over the implications of development in Jammu and Kashmir or Nagaland. I would like to categorically assure you that you do not have to worry at all. Article 371A is a solemn commitment to the people of Nagaland. It is a sacred commitment. We are earnestly working to happily conclude the ongoing political process, which is at a very advanced stage. That is what R.N. Ravi, the governor of Nagaland and the chief interlocutor of the Naga peace talks, had said. Now, Burhan, very, very categorically, the symbols of the government have been quick to clarify that there is nothing to fear, that this action has been taken only as far as Jammu and Kashmir is concerned. Rest of the country, which also enjoy certain different forms of special rights, need not worry. So is this assurance going to make the people, keep the people calm elsewhere?
Well, as far as the assurance are concerned, there is no legal binding of those assurance. Even the statement made by the Honorable Home Minister before the Parliament, there is no as such legal binding. It's only a kind of assurance. So now what I would like to say on this, that if any majority government with brute majority, they can, now we have already seen it, they can do whatever they want to do. Now, as far as Article 370 is concerned, of course, the historical background is totally different. Article 371 is concerned, the historical backgrounds are totally different. Now, in fact, we cannot compare them, because the word itself is very clear. One is temporary, the other one is special status. Now, having said so, as far as your question is concerned regarding the assurance part, there is absolutely no legal binding on that. So tomorrow, if the government of India with this kind of majority want to change and tinker with Article 371, they can very much and very well do it. Now, my fear as far as 371 is concerned is that the way that they have done it, regarding 370, it's a kind of colorable legislation in my humble opinion, because they straightforward, they did not do it. They have done it in a particular moment and particular time when their assembly is not in session. So this kind of thing is not a healthy precedent, I would say.
Okay, we'll go into all of that. But Rajiv Hendik, if we look at it, if we focus our discussion now to the Northeast, where 5 states, Article 371A is applicable in Nagaland. Article 371G gives special provisions on similar lines to Mizoram. Article 371B gives provisions to Assam, and Article 371C deals with special provisions with respect to parts of Manipur, and Article 371F in Sikkim and 371H in Arunachal Pradesh. Now, these states, now Article 35A is also gone from Jammu and Kashmir, which was specifically, that provision provided Jammu and Kashmir legislature to decide or define who is a permanent resident, meaning others could not go there and buy property. Similarly, the similar protection is there in many parts of the Northeast. Okay. People cannot own or buy and sell property. Now, therefore, there was some apprehension. Now, after the Home Minister's statement on the floor of the House, yes, Advocate Burhanur has said that that has no legal standing, but how do you look at it?
You see, this Governor Ravi, the statement that he made, similar type of statement was made when Article 370 was inserted. There was a solemn commitment to the people of Kashmir. We have to remember that. And that Article 370 actually helped India to tide over the international complexities regarding the Kashmir dispute. So that was a different historic movement when the people of Kashmir were given that status, that autonomy, so that they can enjoy and slowly become part of the Indian mainstream. So it was, I think, that was a different historical situation, and it has got international ramifications, so you have to understand that. But Article 371 doesn't have international ramifications. It is part of within India, and I think the solemn assurance that the Honorable Home Minister has given is actually not to create any trouble in Northeast, because they are already having their hands full with the Kashmir problem. They cannot open up 2 fronts of disorder,
now,
or you can say,
I will have the opening remarks very quickly of 2 other panelists before we open the debate. Janki Goswami, Assam BJP spokesperson. Janki, we are seeing these developments at a time when the government of India has set up a high-power committee to go into clause 6 of the Assam Accord to provide constitutional, legislative and administrative safeguards to the people of Assam or the Assamese people. Now, that will obviously require certain special safeguards. And that safeguards have to come through a constitutional provision. Now, we know that we have Article 371B, which gives some special provisions to Assam, and then what about these contradictions? Do you see a contradiction, or do you think these things can go on simultaneously?
Are you asking about the contradiction that the situation here and the situation
No,
in
I am
Kashmir?
asking, we have seen what has happened in Jammu and Kashmir. We have seen the Home Minister assuring that Article 371...
Actually, you cannot...
Now, my question is, when the Government of India has set up a high-power committee to go into Clause 6 of the Assam Accord to provide constitutional, legislative and administrative safeguards, obviously, some special status has to be given to Assam. So, do you see a contradiction there?
No, I think the provision that has been made, the setting up of the committee and the discussions that will, that will follow. And after that, there will definitely be some provision which will ensure the safeguard of these, the constitutional safeguards of these people. But this situation cannot at all be associated or equated with the situation in Kashmir. The situation in Kashmir is totally different from the situation here. Here we are talking about legal rights, we are talking about some constitutional rights of the indigenous people. But the situation in Kashmir is totally different. All this while, this Article 370, when it was surreptitiously incorporated in the Constitution, if you know, it was the means of insertion itself was surreptitious. It was not made public at that point of time.
Let us focus our discussion on the northeastern region. Let's not go into the background. I'm not interested. Let us discuss about. So you are saying that it'll have. It's not a contradiction as far as the northeast is concerned.
No, there is no contradiction.
It can go on simultaneously.
It can go on simultaneously.
Okay. Let me bring in former Assam Special DGP, Mr. Pallab Bhattacharjee. Before I go back to my other panelists, Mr. Pallab Bhattacharjee. There was some apprehension, obviously, in the northeastern region. What next? Is Article 371 going to be tinkered with by the government? And there was an apprehension in Nagaland where people thought, okay, now 370 is gone. Special status to JNK is no longer there. What about the Naga peace accord, where the Naga groups discussing with the government of India are also placing certain demands for recognition of the Nagas as a unique people, recognizing their unique history. So, is there a contradiction? And of course, the Governor R.N. Ravi was very quick to clarify that the government will not do anything with Article 371A and there is nothing to fear. So, how do you look at it, Mr. Pallab Bhattacharjee?
Yes, there is some apprehension that is there. As you know, that Article 371A, it refers to Nagaland, then 371B obviously to Meghalaya, then 371G to Mizoram. So these problems are there actually, because they are saying that when such a constitutional provision can be abrogated with the help of, so far as Jammu and Kashmir is concerned, why not in northeastern state? So there is some apprehension about that, but the way the abrogation of 370 was brought in, actually that there is scope for judicial scrutiny also actually, because you must be knowing that already some parties, they have decided to go to the court. So let us, that the court will decide. But so far as the northeastern states are concerned, we are also very much, it has also come to news regarding Assam, because we have got clause 6 of Assam Accord. That is also another provision whereby we want to introduce certain, safeguards to the people of Assam. So all these things have created certain confusion, but at the same time, I think we should go along with, under the present circumstances. I don't think that it is a cause of concern, because there are some legal luminaries like Salve actually, who has told that there is nothing wrong in this particular amendment. So that is why we should wait and see, and at the same time we should go ahead with our discussions actually, and how we can bring peace and tranquility in the region with the help of these different provisions.
Right. Now, Nishikant, 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 Manipur is a very difficult situation in the sense that Naga peace accord is coming and the hill districts, some of the groups, I'm not saying everybody, there are some groups in Manipur who wants themselves to be merged with the state of Nagaland. Now, they might come up with this argument. Already Bodo groups in Assam have stated in parliament, a Bodo MP has said, now that he could bifurcate J&K and give a union territory to Ladakh, that argument might be made by some of the groups in Manipur as well. Why not create a separate union territory? Why not merge our state, parts of our Manipur to Nagaland and create a solution to the Naga problem? So how do you counter this? What is your take?
First of all, 370 was a totally different thing. 371 is a totally different thing. Now, in 370, the Ladakhis were ignored. The Hindu Pandits became a refugee in their own country. And then Pakistan had every right to meddle. There was talk of third-party mediation, etc., etc. Now, in Manipur, 371C is prevalent in the hills, but in the valley, there's nothing like that. Now, with the Naga peace accord, you're right, it is a very tense situation. If at all it goes through, if our hills, we are, like I said many times, that we are just 8% of the valley. If 92% of our land goes away, I mean, that will be very, very unfair.
Okay.
And I always reiterate that the uncles and the Kabuis are our brothers. We are the same stock of people. It is the divide of religion and things that if you go back to original things beyond your religion, we all belong to the same land. There is so much similarity between the Tangkhuls, the Meiteis, and the Kabuis. Too many similarities.
Absolutely.
So I think it will be you see, the path taken vis-a-vis the Tangkhul and the Kabuis on this thing is completely wrong. They are a lot closer to us. I don't think they're that close to any tribe in Nagaland. They are very, very close to us.
Okay.
They are our brothers. I mean,
Okay.
you go back in history, we are one people.
Okay.
If we were not Hindus, we would be Nagas also.
Point noted, Nishikant. Professor Dongal, I'm coming to my panelist in the studio, 371G, in Mizoram, Professor Dongal, it is 371G which gives special provisions. Now, this 371G basically says that it's an act of parliament relating to religious and social practices of Mizo customary law and procedure, administration of civil or criminal justice involving decisions according to Mizo customary law, ownership and transfer of land and its resources will not apply to Mizoram unless state assembly decides to do so. Now the question is, 371G, it gives the Mizos the right to practice their customary laws. It gives them ownership and transfer of land and its resources that has to be done with permission of the state assembly. Now, is there an apprehension? Because that same 35A in some form or the other was enforced in Kashmir. That is now no longer there. So is there an apprehension or is the case in Mizoram totally different? Dongal.
Yeah, so far as this Article 371G is concerned, there may be some apprehension from the public from certain quarters, but as an academician, as professor of political science, I feel that there is no apprehension. I feel there is no threat at all. And as I've said, this Article 371, it is the rights of the indigenous people. It is incorporation of the rights of the indigenous people in the Constitution of India. And so far as this Article 371 is concerned, like Article 371A is about the hill tribes, the Naga tribals of Nagaland. Then Article 371B is about hill tribes of Assam, particularly Karbi Anglong and North Kachar Hills. And Article 371C is about the tribals in hill areas of Manipur. And this Article 371G is about the tribals, the tribal people of Mizoram,
yeah.
the Mizo. That's why so far as this Article 371G is concerned, in this regard, now Mizo customary law has been codified, then land revenue is in the hands of the government, and so far as this land revenue and ownership of land is concerned, non-tribal cannot possess land in Nagaland. This has been the practice since colonial era, and that's why with regard to those provisions which are laid down in Article 371G of the Constitution of India, it has been properly pursued and it has been codified and it is properly implemented.
Okay.
And as I've said, this right concerns the rights of the indigenous people. That's
All
why
right.
I feel that there is no apprehension.
No apprehension. Okay, that is the point which Professor...
There is no threat.
Right.
Because,
no threat. That is what the point you are making. Now, Burhan, you know, the MP of the Bodoland People's Front, MP Biswajit Doimari, immediately when the Lok Sabha, I think it was immediately after, day before yesterday, when the Rajya Sabha passed, he made this statement on the floor of the House that you had given a union territory to Ladakh, which has a foreign neighbor, which is China and other foreign neighbors. Why not give us a special? We are demanding a special state. That means he said that the Bodos were also demanding a special state. So it should be now, their dream should be fulfilled, their demands should be met. So he tried to bring about a comparison. Do you think now that the ease with which the center could create, bifurcate Jammu and Kashmir and create the Union Territory of Ladakh, which was a genuine demand of the Ladakhi people, which the government of India has now fulfilled, do you think other groups which are demanding separate states like the Bodos, for example, they have already made, do you think that will intensify, or these are two separate situations? No, how do you look at it?
As far as my opinion goes, I think that if this kind of demands have started cropping up and the government of India started acceding to this kind of demand, then very soon we will go to a pre-independence era period when we have some 550 odd princely states. Then everybody will start demanding. It's a never-ending process. So it will create more problem than solving the problem. Because if you start doing that, then we don't have any infrastructure. We do not have so much of infrastructure in dealing that.
No, that's a different issue.
Yes.
But do you think the demand will? My question was different. Do you think that the demand now they have got a precedent? They're going to cite this example to press for their demands.
No, this kind of precedent is, I would say, it's not a healthy precedent. I've already said it, because even if there is something which has just happened regarding the Ladakh, that's fine, it's already happened. But if you start, what I'm saying is that if you start doing this, then not only about Boro, you have demands of Marathwada, you have demands for any other Harit state.
Okay.
So it will create lots of problems. So
all right. It is fraught with some amount of cautionary note being expressed by Advocate Burhan there. I'll go for a short break. Don't go away. I'll be right back. Welcome back, Mr. Rajiv Hendik. Let's look at the situation prevalent now in Assam. We have on one side the rights of the people. That is the whole issue in the state, is about the rights of the indigenous people. We are preparing an NRC. We are trying to come up with a correct voters list. We are also trying to implement Clause 6 of the Assam Accord, which has promises to give constitutional, legislative and administrative safeguards to the Assamese people. Now the question is that constitutional, legislative and administrative safeguards have to come through an amendment to the constitution, or it has to be incorporated in the constitution. There has to be some constitutional safeguards which has to be given to the people. Now, do you think, there is a lot of confusion going around in this. On one side there is 371, on one side another part of the country had 370 which is gone. Yes, Kashmir is a different case, and there is no harm in correcting a mistake of history. It has taken more than 70 years to correct. People may question on the procedure adopted, but nobody can question the Narendra Modi government on as to why you have removed Article 370. People can question the methodology. That's a different issue. But I seek your opinion on the situation in Assam, particularly Clause 6. And do you see a link there? Are you a confused person, or would you like to provide some clarity?
No, everyone will be a confused person actually regarding Assam. It's the complexity of the situation is enormous. But the point is, finally I think three things decide. Number one is politics, and when I say of politics, it is power politics, how to get back to power, how to win elections, that will decide. One is geopolitical situation, and that is the reason why I think this assurance is coming that 371 will not be tinkered with. Geopolitical situation is very important. And last but not the least, and I think the most important part is the political economy. If the political economy wants a situation where just like 37A is abrogated, all the other provisions, maybe supposing in
35A.
Yeah, in Arunachal, people have got the land rights. It can be actually done away with. And there is something like de facto, de jure, we have the rights. For example, but if you look at the factual, real situation, are the tribals getting in Karbi Anglong or in Dima Hasao, are they really getting the protection?
But
what about the tribal belts and blocks?
Right, Janki Goswami, what the Rajiv Hendik is saying that they might remove the land rights in, for example, any of the northeastern states that enjoy special land rights. But the question is, Jammu and Kashmir is a different ball game. It was a completely different story. It was a hostile neighbor trying to create trouble. Whereas in the northeastern region, it is not exactly the case. These are homegrown insurgents which we are dealing with. It's not for some foreign mercenaries who are coming to create trouble in Indian territory. So there is a difference there. So how do you look at it?
See, in Northeast, when you talk about the provisions that Article 371A to G, which applies to the northeastern states, here these are special provisions which safeguards the interests of the indigenous people, whether it is concerned with land rights or their
customary laws, religious practices.
Yes, religious practices, certain civil laws also.
Yeah.
But when you talk about Kashmir, that is totally a different ballgame, as you said, because that deals with alienation. The people of Kashmir feel alienated in their own land. This is the provision that was there, 370 and 35A, were divisive forces that created division. They felt alienated from mainland. So that was a historical blunder which was done. Now it has been corrected.
Can I just
that
have 1 minute?
That historical fault has now been corrected. So
Okay,
all the time cannot be equated
all
at
the
all.
time we talk of this historic, mistake.
Yes.
But as a professor of history, let me tell you, every historical situation comes up with solutions, and that was the solution at that point of time.
At that point of time,
it was transient,
and it was mentioned in the
and even Vallabhbhai Patel has supported that.
Yes, it was mentioned in the Constitution also that it was transient.
Because we have to understand one thing.
And a temporary matter. I mean, temporary solution to the situation.
Let me say, it was a situation where, in opposition to the two-nation theory, we had a Muslim state which, voluntarily became a part of India. And that's the reason why, 370 was given. We have to understand that.
Which was,
okay, so he was, Professor Rajiv Hendik is trying to contextualize the situation, that is his point of view. And now, Mr. Pallab Bhattacharjee, what could happen? The central government has now set up a high-level committee to look into Clause 6. And as you know, Clause 6 promises to provide constitutional, legislative and administrative safeguards to the people of Assam, Assamese people. Now, is there going to be a smooth affair? Is it a case-to-case basis, state-to-state basis, or do you think there are some general messes out of what has happened in J&K with the removal of Article 370? Or do you see that these things are two completely different situations?
Personally, I feel that these are two completely different situations. So far as Jammu and Kashmir is concerned, you must be knowing, everybody is aware that this provision has outlived its utility. Actually, in fact, so many years have passed, and there are so many discriminations also inside Jammu and Kashmir, because some of the laws of progressive laws of the government is not applicable there unless it is seconded by the state assembly. So basically, so it is a totally different ball game altogether. And so far as Assam and other northeastern states are concerned, I personally feel that we should go ahead with what exactly we have been given the task to go ahead, and we should look and see for that, because any solution to any particular problem, if you see, it depends upon the circumstances which is prevailing at that point of time. For instance, in the case of the creation of BTAD, if you see, in the 1990s, there was so much of violence actually, and 2000 also, there was so much of violence. So basically, at that point of time, actually, government has decided that we should create a this BTAD creation I am talking about. So
Borderline Territorial Council.
The safest solution, and you can see that the number of violence has come down drastically. So that is why we should not intermingle these two issues, and we should go ahead. Actually, that is my personal view.
Professor Dongal, inner line regulations. Now, lot of people in several states are also demanding inner line regulations. Now, there is a demand for inner line regulation in Meghalaya, for example. And I'm coming to you, Nishikant, on this. There are groups in Manipur also who are demanding inner line regulations. Now, how do you look at this? A lot of people will argue that we are a part of India. Why should there be restrictions of people from one part of India to come to another part of India? What is the big deal in this 21st century? Why restrict? Why try to live in ghettos? Why this ghetto mentality? A lot of people may argue in this way. How do you defend? How would you defend inner line regulations? Professor Dongal.
I think inner line.
Yeah, we are now in the 21st century. But though we are now in the 21st century, the socio-economic development and the level of development of the people are not different, are not equal. That's why certain rights, certain exclusive rights are required for protection of the indigenous tribal people. So with regard to this, what we call inner line regulation, it started way back in 1873 as Bengal Eastern Frontier Regulation.
Right.
Actually, it started for protection of these indigenous people, tribals in Eastern Bengal and Assam. And initially, it was implemented and started in 9 hill districts of East Bengal and Assam.
Yes.
And that's why the main intention of this inner line regulation is that the hill tribes should be saved from discrimination and other ill treatment of the plain people, and the plain people should also be saved from the raid and other surprise attack of the hill people. In such a way, for good of both the hill and the plain people, this has been initiated by the British. And actually, the coverage of this inner line regulation is particularly, specially for the tribal hill tribes people. That's why
bring in.
This is meant only for the tribal people.
Right.
So for those who are in general category, those people who are not tribal, it is not constitutional and legal for them to claim for this inner line.
I'm coming to Advocate Burhanur, but before that, very quickly, Nishikant, are you in favor of inner line regulations or are you not? Because your government has come up with this massive integrationist approach. Kashmir has finally been integrated fully with the Indian state. That is the point that the BJP is trying to make after it took 70 years though. Now, in Northeast, are you in favor of these inner line regulations? Why should a lot of people will argue that why should people from one part of the country to another state require an ILP? What is your personal view?
You see, inner line permit was there ever since I knew it, and it is more to safeguard the indigenous people. But if you look at today's world, the world is already a global village. In fact, look at Dubai. Dubai has very few citizens. You have people coming from outside and developing the land. And I think inner line permit should be re-looked at. But of course, the interest of the people must be given all the importance. The indigenous people and our culture has to be safeguarded. But if we have to grow, and this world is already a global village, we need help from outside. And we need people coming to set up big industries.
Why is this nuanced response? Why is this diplomatic and nuanced response, Nisikant? I mean, you know, you have been very, very careful in your words.
There are indigenous people who need to be protected. At the same time, Manipur has to be progressive. We have to be progressive. So we need to look at it. And we need people coming from outside to help us build. We have to grow. We have to be at pace with the rest of the world, not only India. We want to progress.
Right.
So what will happen to Kashmir? Kashmir people can't buy land, so there was no development. You know.
So Burhan, hold your thoughts. Nisikant, I'm coming back to you. Burhan, you know, at a time when we are talking about integration, we are talking about development, progress, growth, global village. These are the catchwords today. Now, in this kind of a background, we have certain states where we have this inner line regulations which dates back to the Bengal Eastern Frontier regulations in the early 19th century, 200-year-old provision. Now, do you think there is a case, as Nisikant says, to revisit this, or do you think that is going to create a demographic imbalance in some of the places in the northeast?
Yeah, that as far as inner line concept is concerned, it was in fact there in Assam also, and now present Naga district, they had this inner line permit, that line was there. But as far as there is a report, in fact, by C.S. Mullan, he was once very famously quoted, saying that if this kind of migration is allowed, then after a particular point of time in Assam, only the indigenous people will be found in the district of Sivsagar. Now, that thing actually not exactly the position, because now what we have seen is that if the integration is allowed, then also we can still preserve the tradition of the tribal people and the hilly areas. Moreover, this concept of inner line goes against Article 19(1), which says that there should be a free association, should be allowed, one should be allowed to stay there, reside there, all these things are there. But for this, you cannot impose it without a proper survey or study. If the time has come, then they can do it. Otherwise, they cannot superimpose it, just like with the brute majority what they have done it in Kashmir, the way that they have done it. That has got a very wide ramification. So that should not be.
Rajiv Hendik, you know, now there may not be a chorus still, but we have started to hear voices. That there should be inner line permit system in Assam as well. That is the only way to protect. So there are some groups. I'm coming to you, Mr. Pallab Bhattacharjee, on the same question. Rajiv, how do you look at it?
No, this problem of identity is there actually. Identity is something that has actually been the core issue for many of these conflicts. And it is for the protection of these identities that people are rallying around issues of how to get protection. And at the same time, we have to understand that Assam itself is a very, very different case. And the question of safeguard comes in because it is a unique case, I say, because this demographic inversion has not happened in any other parts of India. You know, where the indigenous people have been totally converted into a minority. It happened in other countries like Malaysia, but then Malaysia is a different, totally different
ballgame. Do you agree with what Professor Rajiv Hendik is saying, that Assam is a peculiar case?
On the same lines, I would like to say that Assam is a state where the indigenous people feel endangered. They're, because of the multiplication of population people belonging to a particular community, which you also know, I also know, and because of where the importance of provision clause 6 lies. The entire clause 6, the provision has been done, or the entire talk is going on just to safeguard the interests of our people.
Sanke, can I add one thing actually?
Yes.
I think there is also the question of land. The problem is the indigenous people have all actually lost their land because
that
of
is
the
a
wasteland
problem.
grants.
Because there is no such provision where we can safeguard
Because
our
of the-
land. There is no such law or rule. That
the problem is also with land because
Yes.
land and identity, they go together.
We are losing our
Land and identity.
If you
Mr.
look at
Pallab
the- If you look
Bhattacharjee,
at the case of the hot rods, the same thing
yeah.
has happened.
Yes, a lot of hot rods have also lost their land to
Encroached upon.
encroachment. So that is
Encroached
a genuine problem in Assam.
Yes.
Yes, Mr. Pallab Bhattacharjee, land, at the end of the day, land is linked to the identity of a community. Land is a very critical component of this safeguards and special provisions.
Yeah, that I personally also feel like that. If you see right from the beginning, even before independence, actually we have been facing this infiltration problem for quite some time. And now actually on a single day itself, we have come to a conclusion that from 61 to 71, these people will be made Indian citizen. So in a single day, actually, we have made so many people as Indian citizen. Now, our borders are also not properly, infiltration still keeps on coming. That is what people say. So personally, I feel that so far as Assam is concerned, land and identity these are the two major issues, and we being connected to the rest of India by the narrow, the Siliguri corridor and the security threat which we have from all along the people around, all along the international countries, actually that calls for special provision for Assam and the Northeast.
All right.
That is my call, actually.
All right. Nisikant Sapam, your concluding remarks, is Northeast has any reason to worry according to you, or do you think things are hunky-dory?
No, Northeast has nothing to worry. I am very sure that the Honorable Home Minister has said it on the floor of the House. That means a lot, number one. Number two, BJP is very much there to preserve the cultural heritage, the indigenous people of the people, and therefore nothing is going to happen, as has been assured by the Honorable Home Minister on the floor of the House. That's my stand.
Okay. Professor Dongal, your parting words.
Okay. Wasbir, I feel that what we have to remember is that unity in diversity. That's why diverse culture, diverse religion, and diverse sub-nationalities should be allowed to flourish in India. And a short while ago, one of the panelists has pointed out that this inner line regulation is violation of Article 19F. He quotes fundamental rights. But what we have to know is that up till now, even though we are now in 21st century, tribals, particularly the hill tribes, still need protection. That's why this inner line regulation or 6th schedule provisions to the Constitution of India are all these exclusive rights of the tribals. So general people, advanced people, they should not be jealous of these exclusive rights of the tribals. That's why tribals should also be allowed to grow in their own way. And so far as this inner line regulation is concerned, those people who come legally for trade and commerce, for business, and for some other purpose, they are never blocked. They never face problem.
All right.
That's why the mentality of the tribals should be understood, and unity in diversity should not be forgotten.
Should not be forgotten,
and
of course.
Various cultural, religions, and sub-nationalities should be allowed to flourish in their own way.
I'm running absolutely.
We should know that there are some exclusive rights for the tribal.
Okay. Burhan, what are your concluding remarks?
Well, I feel that if government maneuver their steps in a proper manner, then we should not be concerned much at this stage. But at the same time, what I am worried is that once, in one hand, government has already started the process under clause 6. On the other hand, they are talking about cap. That is my concern, because in my opinion, both are in totally separate poles. One is in the North Pole, one is in the South Pole. How you will reconcile it? So that's what the time will say.
We'll have to wait and watch. These are points which has to be addressed by the government. We'll have to wait and watch. Mr. Pallab Bhattacharjee, what do you have to say in the end?
Personally, I don't feel that it should be a cause of concern for the people of Assam. because Jammu and Kashmir is a totally different issue. And in our case, actually, we should go ahead with our present way of thinking.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I would like to draw one point in this regard. You see, in Assam, we have got these tribal belts and blocks which was
Yes.
created during the time of Gopinath Bordoloi.
Yes.
But unfortunately, our officers, actually, we have not been able to maintain that. Actually, that is why the existing laws which are already there, we should strictly follow those laws.
Strictly follow
and
the
ensure that
existing
no
laws. I'm running short of time.
encroachers can encroach
Yes.
into these areas.
Absolutely.
So I personally
Follow-
don't feel any problem in this regard.
Absolutely. Janki, very quickly, 10 seconds.
Just, let me tell you. I mean, I think that Indian government, the Honorable Prime Minister and the Honorable Home Minister has taken a very, very bold and progressive decision. It's a very envisioned step, and which I feel will encapsulate within it all the solutions to the problem that Kashmir had been facing for the last 7 decades. And I also feel that there will be greater solidarity now, and there will be geographical integrity and, most importantly, emotional integrity.
Okay, we'll wait for better days in Jammu and Kashmir. We will all hope for the best. Rajiv Hendik, last word to you.
The people of Northeast must be very cautious and they must be very vigilant about these rights which are there in Article 371, which are enshrined there. As of now, it is not in the manifesto of the BJP, so that is not going to happen. But CAB is a part of the manifesto. We should all brace up for that, what is going to happen next. And I would like to suggest that we have to find some creative solution.
Creative solution, the need of the hour. On
And
that note,
clause
at the end of the day, and the end of this very engaging discussion, the point is that abrogation of Article 370 had indeed caused some apprehension in the Northeast, but the panelists in the studio in this discussion saying that there is absolutely no cause for worry. The Home Minister has also clarified that in the floor of the Lok Sabha, but at the end of the day, we have to have a watchful eye. At the end of the day, it is rights of our indigenous people in the Northeastern region. On that note, I end this edition of Northeast Tonight. I'd like to thank all my panelists for participating in this engaging discussion. Good night and goodbye.